What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. Happy Saturday. I know I haven't done Saturday videos in a little while, but I wanted to get back into giving you guys a few videos on Saturdays to watch and hopefully enjoy. Last night, Real Time Bill Maher was on, and of course, everybody's losing their mind. The thing about Bill Maher is that he's absolutely a liberal. I don't think it's difficult to have a fair assessment of him in that manner. But the problem is, like, the Overton window has shifted so far that some liberals think that he's like a Republican or a conservative now. It just isn't the case. Bill Maher is probably a classical liberal. He's still pretty far left even, too. But he gets people all worked up when he criticizes his own side, something that neither side does enough of. Certainly conservatives don't look at themselves under that lens very often either. Bill Maher, to me, he's a clip guy. I don't find much interest in like sitting and watching his entire show, in particular because it's more Hollywood mainstream garbage. And I think Bill comes off as pseudo-intellectual at times. But that said, it's always fun to watch him get the backlash and watch people know true Scotsman him and say, he's not really a liberal because he criticizes liberals. And that said, hey, this, when I talk about big tech and I talk about data security and I talk about people using Silicon Valley, using your data for profit, one great way to stop that is using a VPN. The VPN I use is private internet access. I'm not going to bore you with a long ad. I'm just going to say that private internet access supports this channel. It's the VPN I use. And I strongly recommend everyone who browses the web in 2021 be using a VPN. You don't have to use this one, but it's the one I use. I trust. It's extremely well rated. And if you sign up today using my link in the description or pinned comment below, you'll get an amazing deal. Let's get into the story. So I saw Bill Maher trending this morning. He argues against the claim that societal issues are worse now than ever on this week's episode of The Real Time with Bill Maher. Now, I saw this particular episode. Essentially, the point is this. Zoomers, Gen Z, many leftists in Gen Z and even millennials will often say like, oh, things are, just racial tensions are the worst and everything's just so awful in this country. LGBTQ community has it so hard, but they have no idea what it was like just 20 years ago. And he brings a lot of very hard-hitting facts to prove that this nation has, in fact, progressed a serious amount. Talking about, if I could bring up some of the data he shared, you say, in light of Pride Month, which is recognized by nearly every major business in America, Maher then acknowledged the major stride that gay marriage is now legal nationwide and how even half of the Republicans now support it. The other half are for closeted gays, say. I don't know what that is, but I don't know. He joked. He also mentioned that celebrities are coming out of the closet are met with thunderous applause. And it's not LGBTQ, just LGBT issues. Not that long ago, I knew people who went to prison for growing herb. Now you can legally smoke it for fun in 43% of the country. Something like bullying. It still happens, but but being outwardly cruel to people who are different is no longer acceptable. That's progress. And acknowledging progress isn't saying we're done or we don't need more. And being gloomier doesn't make you a better person. He's talking about kind of this section of leftists that really just hate this country and won't acknowledge any progress whatsoever because they live by the all or nothing mentality. And that's fine on paper and in a vacuum, but in reality, there's always going to be people who are garbage out there. What you have to do is look at, how close can we get to the overall majority of people who, are on the right side of things. Certainly just in my lifetime, I've seen public perception of, the LGBTQ community go from something that was kind of secretive to this huge corporate marketing wank fest where they're just using this community. The LGBTQ community is so accepted, they're now being abused like the rest of us and used as a marketing tool. He talks about, He says the chant from gay protesters used to be, "We're here, we're queer, get used to it." Well, we did. This Pride Month, it's Pride Month, and it's not even a big deal anymore. 30 days of parades and festivals celebrating a cause that was once so divisive that Ellen had to pretend to be straight. He acknowledged even major American businesses, the major stride in gay marriage. It's insane. He talks about Maher saying the left is progressophobic, meaning it's a term coined by Steven Pinker, saying a brain disorder that strikes liberals and makes them incapable of recognizing progress. There absolutely has been a lot of issues. They talk about, not that long ago, support for viewing interracial couples used to be in the single digits. Now it's close to 90% of people are approve of it. The idea that Hollywood keeps pumping out, you see this, and yet there's a reoccurrent theme on the far left that say things have never been worse. Kevin Hart expressed a view that many hold when he told the New York Times, "You're witnessing white power and white privilege at an all-time high." This is one of the problems with wokeness, he continues, that what you say doesn't have to make sense or jive with facts or even be challenged, lest the challenge be conflated with racism. But saying that white power and privilege are an all-time high is simply ridiculous. Higher than a century ago when there was the Tulsa incident, higher than the years when the KKK rode unchecked and Jim Crow went unchallenged, higher than the 60s when the Supremes and Willie Mays still couldn't stay at the same hotel as the white people they were working with, higher than during slavery. The Real-Time host did acknowledge that, of course, it still exists, but you have the low point of race relations wasn't Kim Kardashian wearing cornrows, even though it did happen. Because here's the thing, kids, there actually was a world before you got here, Maher said to the younger generations. We date human events AD and BC because we need a new marker for millennials and Gen Z. BY before you. There are a heck of a lot of Americans trying really hard these days to embrace a spirit of inclusion and self-reflection, and this progressive allergy to acknowledging societal advances is self-defeating because progress and hope that we can achieve it is the product we're selling, and having a warped view of reality leads policies that are warped, Maher ranted on. Black-only dorms, graduation ceremonies, a growing belief that whiteness as a malady and white people as irredeemable, giving up on a colorblind society. Only if you believe we've made no progress does any of that make sense. Very, very well put. I think that most people would agree on, a lot of the ideas that are pushed by, let's just say, that are just commonly perceived as liberal. Most people would agree. The problem is, your marketing is coming from these weirdos who every one of them has some undiagnosed mental disorder that they claim is a big part of their identity. And then they spend all day on TikTok and they don't actually go out in public and interact with anybody. And so their entire identity is talking about how terrible things are for them from their upper middle class homes in white neighborhoods. What you get is you get people like this getting famous, getting platforms, morons like David Hogue, coming out there and being the voice of a young generation. But the fact of the matter is you're pushing people away. The idea is, look, most people can get on board. Like, I would argue, look, there's nothing wrong with most of these ideas. But when you're constantly pushing back on people, calling them garbage, saying, hey, I think we all agree that racism is bad, right? But now we have this thing where like whiteness is this original sin, and that you're telling poor people, poor whites, that they have it so much easier than everyone else. What do you think that that's going to generate? Do you think that that's going to generate more open-mindedness, or do you think that's going to generate resentment? That's the thing. A lot of these grifters These people who get $100,000 gender studies degrees and then get jobs at some corporation, they bully some corporation into hiring some inclusivity czar. Their entire job is to create more division. It's the same thing with critical race theory, teaching young kids, young white kids, that there is some inherent original sin in their whiteness that they need to apologize for. I'm not, like, I wish this was hyperbole, but that's what's going on with this in the schools. So what do you think those kids, sure, some kids might bite the apple and buy into your indoctrination, but a lot of them are going to resent others. They're going to grow up and turn out to be racist because you've stuck your finger in their face their whole life and told them that they have it easy and they have something to apologize for. You'd have to not understand human nature whatsoever in any way, shape, or form to think that this is going to end well for them. And of course, Twitter loses its mind, talking about, Bill Maher has a meltdown over outdoor mask wearers. You effing moron. Yeah, of course, he roasts mask wearers too. Up here, they talk about Maher seemingly played a seemingly pointless clip of Joe Biden ranting about mixed race couples before making his point that the far left has progress-phobia. You see here, Maher said that's how we react coming out of this looking like a big liability to the Democrats in reference to the lockdowns, adding that he thinks sometimes their whole attitude toward this was a liability. He cited a Gallup poll on attitudes towards continuing to wear masks going forward, which showed that a huge majority of Republicans think people who are have the poke healthy and not showing symptoms should lead their normal lives. 71% of Democrats say stay home and keep cowering. I see people in the street walking outside with a mask on like, you effing moron. I just want to shout at them outside the car. You're a moron. You never could get it outside. Really? You're alone walking on the street with one on? I mean, I see people who are alone in their cars wearing them. And I'm just like, what do you do? Turn off the news, man. Like, I don't believe, I don't believe that you're like, why is it on when you're alone in the car? It's insanity to me. You can't say on one end, we've got to listen to the science and data. And then when science and data says you can't get it outside and you never could, and you don't need one anymore, be like, oh, I'm just not going to do it. Now we're over the whatever, it's over. Can we just say it's over? Maher said at one point, I know it was great fun to have a lockdown and order Grubhub every night, but he's not wrong. Life is a risk. And, it's moments like this that I really appreciate what Bill Maher does. I wish that there were more on the conservative side of things with as big of a platform that would criticize. Now, I do think that there is a fair bit of it that goes on, but really on the left, I mean, you've got Bill Maher, you've got Jimmy Dore, who does a pretty good job criticizing their own side. Outside of that, I'm not exactly sure. Bold move by Bill Maher continues to make headlines every single week by riling up Twitter. If you haven't yet, make sure you get your VPN today using the link in my description. It not only supports the channel, but it protects your computer. It's the VPN I use and I trust, and so you should consider it too. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.